Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Steve, and today I'm hanging out with Heath Robinson from Infinite Black. How are you doing today, sir?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. So,
Thank you very much for having me.
hopefully you're living your best apocalypse ever now.
Well, we are trying. Yes, we're all working from home and everything like that too. Still trying to do our thing.
Worst apocalypse ever. I haven't got to kill one zombie yet.
Right. We haven't seen any of those. Like we thought they'd be more fun with regard to that.
I hear the rumor you guys have a big Kickstarter going on right now.
We do. We have the fourth Elder Dice Kickstarter campaign, and this is Elder Dice Shards of Illumination. And my business partner, David LaRocca, is in charge of the design of the symbols and the dice. And he did an amazing job with these sets of dice that there are on Kickstarter now. They are all based on the Cthulhu mythos. We put out different symbols. Each one of the dice has a different symbol on it on the highest value of each die. And so each set is themed around a different god or a different organization or cult in the Cthulhu mythos. And these sets, and along with the boxes, each set of dice comes with its own magnetic spellbook box, so that you've got and this is stained glass theme, so we've got all the symbols in a stained glass look on all of the grimoire boxes, and it's been a stellar campaign.
Yeah, I mean they look fantastic. I love the look of the spell books and even the slipcase to put them all in. So, how many great old ones are there? Are you guys almost out?
There are a lot, but I'm not sure. I don't know if we're almost out. But see, one of the things that we do is we always go back to the original work,
Uh huh.
because there's been a lot of stuff that's been added on by other authors over the years and so forth. So there are a lot of different people who ask for different old ones that I think have been created later and things like that. So I don't know how many of those we will get to. We go back to some of the original work and reimagine it. As we go, but there's still some to get to.
Yeah. So, that's a lot of fun. Those look great. Do you guys play like many like horror themed games or some Call of Cthulhu maybe?
We do. We ran a friend of ours ran Call of Cthulhu for us, and he was just a master at creating that. And then, of course, we play the Mansions of Madness and those kinds of games. We love Mansions of Madness for a tabletop game. I have not played Delta Green yet, but I really want to play Delta Green. We've got Shane is a friend of ours up here in Birmingham, but I haven't gotten to play yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of tabletop games based off of the Cthulhu mythos for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We were kind of like talking a little bit beforehand, and you're telling me how you guys got trapped in an infinite game of the what is it called, madness? What is it?
The Mansions of Madness.
Mansions of Madness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the new second edition. I believe it's the second edition. It's the one with the app.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of people who really enjoy that. I mean, people come over and I mean, it is a party when we play that. And we had played some other games before, and we got started a little bit late. But I was thinking it's going to be still only like a 4-hour game or something like that. I think it was 8 hours that we were going through Innsmouth, but it felt like a horror movie. I mean, nobody wanted to stop. We were all running from these deep ones and everything. It was a lot of fun. I loved that game.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with Arkham Horror. It was the only time I played it, and it was like 6 hours. That's all I really remember. It's also a couple of years ago. To me, that was the horror part about it. I just have a short attention span, I feel like. So, like, really, really long tabletop games like that are not a great match for me. But, fortunately, there's tons of stuff out there, so there's something for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
But you do Zombie Side. You do Zombie Side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so Ted used to run, like, a monthly game night and tabletop game night, and he would just have like 3 or 4 different rooms. There would be different games going on, but unfortunately he had kids and kids wreck everything. So that's about when that came to an end. But yeah, like there would usually be Arkham Horror going on, Zombicide. There would be a Hero Escape table set up, and then whatever else people brought, because I mean Ted has tons of board games. It's like being in a game store. So
Well, we play the Black Plague,
yeah.
Zombicide Black Plague.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
We even built a 3D board, all a 3D board with all the walls and things like that. We played a lot of that.
Oh no, that's like advanced.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just had all the flat pieces.
Yeah, we painted up. There's a YouTube video that I put out on my channel. It's actually us building that 3D zombie sideboard.
Okay,
Painted up all the miniatures. It's nice.
nice. That's an investment of time there.
It was.
Serious tabletopper.
But I've got the workshop out back, and everybody who enjoys playing just comes down, and then we put together. We've done several different 3D versions of boards. Everybody wants to play or likes to play, comes down, and it's kind of a group project when we trick out the board game.
Yeah, I mean, that used to be part of the fun too. Like I would either show up early or the day before Ted's, and we'd set up like the hero skateboard. So like I used to like doing that, which I have all my HeroScape stuff is packed away. I don't know if you've ever gotten into that, but that was
I
a
have
lot of
not.
fun. So I don't know if it's really a tabletop game or if it's a miniature squad game, more like. But you used to be put out by Hasbro, and it's just cool because it was just like you would just build queen armies, and it was stuff from like all kinds of genres. So you'd have like fantasy and sci-fi and horror, kind of all mashed up, and you just build an army and try and murder the other side. Lots of fun. So, what kind of gaming are you guys getting to these days with everything's going on? More of the same,
Well,
less?
Initially it was a lot less. I feel like when all this started coming out, our gaming took a nosedive because we were doing a lot of in-person gaming. Of course, everybody scattered. But then the longer that it went on, there was the brief kind of lull, and I had a few people over to play Gloomhaven because I've been trying to start a Gloomhaven game. And so we just started that Gloomhaven campaign, and then everything started going back up again. But maybe we will get back to that. But we've switched to online role playing. We took our games of D&D and went online with them. And so we play more frequently online because we do like 2-hour sessions on Sunday. So we'll play online. Whereas when we were doing in person, we'd play once a month on a Saturday, and it would be all day, like an 8-hour, 10-hour day. So more frequently for less time.
Yeah. When we play online, it tends to be 2-3 hours. That seems like a good number. Anything more of that seems like a lot to be in front of the screen for.
Yeah, I start to feel that too. I don't mind being at the table with everybody for 4, 5, 6 hours. I mean, that's pretty normal. But just sitting here alone at the right up 2 hours, and everybody can hop in, and then you play, and then see you next week. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing in person, it's different too. Like for us, it's just like we're playing the game, but we're also just like kind of hanging out with your buddies and
right,
eating pizza and whatever. So like we would generally do probably more like a 4 to 6 hour game instead of like a 2 or 3 hour game online. Which of course, obviously, all of our stuff has moved to online. We used to play like a monthly game in person. And then we were just about to start up 2 more monthly games that were in person, which shifted to online, obviously. So we play at least generally once a week, sometimes more. We stream a couple games on the channel, so we definitely get in a decent amount of gaming. It's one of the reasons why we started Nerdarchy, to have an excuse to game.
Right. And, that's good because you hear about so many people when they're doing like other kinds of businesses and things like that in the hobby that it eats all their gaming time. So you found one that accelerates your gaming time, enhances your gaming time.
Like, so, initially it was just a scam we perpetrated on our wives. To be like, well, we have this business and we're working, so we have to go game. Sorry. But so that's what it kind of feels like sometimes. But no, I think when we first started, there was like a lull in all of our gaming. We're like, let's do this thing. It'll give us an excuse to do the things that we really like doing, but we'll also have a reason to do it. So that was pretty good. Speaking of getting things started, how did you guys start with Infinite Black? Where did that come from?
I had a tabletop game company that I was running with my brother prior to Infinite Black. We called it Rain Studios, and he and basically we just created it in order to do it. Originally, that company, we weren't thinking about actually having a company. That was around the time that the first Zombicide was on Kickstarter, and I had played that with a friend of mine. He brought it over to one of our game nights, and he was like, "Look at this. It's the Zombicide." I said, "Where'd you get this?" He was like, "Oh, I got it on Kickstarter." So it had already come out. I was like, "What's Kickstarter?"
Yeah.
And so then I looked it up, and my brother and I would play a lot of Diablo 3 at the time. We were playing online. We were living in different states, and so we were playing together just to catch up and hang out online. And we decided we should take our time that we are playing the game together and see if we can make a board game, because we both love playing board games and things like that. So we decided, like, is it possible for us to create a board game, take it to Kickstarter, get it funded, and get it out to the world? And we did. And so I was doing that. We put out a couple of games and some terrain systems and things like that. Ultimately, my brother decided he didn't want to continue with the company, and so I was left. But that's when I met David LaRocca. He's my business partner now on Infinite Black, and he's an artist who was already very well known in the Cthulhu mythos genre and dark fantasy kinds of things. And so I had all of the experience about having done board games previously and about different kinds of things you could do. And then he had that audience, that following, and all of his artistic abilities. And so we both needed a business partner at that time. So we got together and we created Elder Dice. Actually, before there was Infinite Black, we created the first Elder Dice, and then that went so well that we decided to create Infinite Black and keep going.
Yeah, I guess at that point you're like, well, I guess we have a company whether we want one or not.
Yep. You have to be careful what you build, because
Yeah.
sometimes that happens. Yeah, that's right. You do a project like that, and the end result is a company. Yep, sure is.
Nice. So, what kind of other things do you guys do over there at Infinite Black?
Well, by far, the major project right now has been Elder Dice. That's in our main project line. This is the fourth Elder Dice campaign. We've done several different sets of Elder Dice. Of course, we do accessories. We do have card sleeves. We did just do shirts, and those are coming through. We got shirts with the Elder Dice symbols on them. These were pre-order. They're on the Pacific Ocean right now. In a couple weeks, they'll be in the U.S., and then we'll put them up on the website. So we have several different products like that, but we have been also trying to develop for our next big release an RPG based on Journey to the Tree of Sorrows. That's our world of dark cosmic horror fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been working on that for a long time, trying different iterations, trying to get it going. I've been working on the world book, writing that for several months. We've written stuff, and then we're like, well, we could throw this out. This isn't what we want. So doing an RPG is a big project, but we're finally kind of narrowed down on, okay, we know how to do it and what we want. So I'm about 85% of the way through the writing of the world book. So that's coming.
So, will that be like a 5e product? Are you guys creating your own RPG?
That's for a 5e.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a 5e based product. We're going to do after I finish this world book, the next project is to write the PHB for it, but it'll be a 5e based on 5e.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And also some people like to splinter off and get some horror into their fantasy. I take it that's the direction you guys are going.
Right, you can totally do that. We've got, we think, a different take on a lot of the mythos things. It's a different approach. The world we're creating is a historical world, and then we weave all of the mythos stuff into our world. But you can take it out and all the monsters and things like that and put them wherever you want.
Oh, so what kind of time period are you going for?
I can't remember the exact year at this moment, but the time period is about 1050. So we're talking about Viking Age.
Okay.
Cthulhu mythos.
Okay, cool. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's also a different take. There was an anthology on Kickstarter back a few years that I had backed called World War Cthulhu, and it was just all these Cthulhian stories based with different wars as the backdrops. You know,
Oh.
you know, so and they ranged it throughout all the different time periods. So it was kind of cool to see. It was a little bit different. So I do like to see that. And also the you know the idea of weaving a Viking and Cthulhu together sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a really nice setting. We're having a lot of fun with it.
And you're basing it off of real world Earth.
Right. There is the Journey to the Tree of Sorrows YouTube channel, and that's where we posted some of the history and lore already that we write. I write it, and then David designs the imagery that goes with it. And so we're going to be posting more videos over the next year as we start to bring all this out. But if anybody's interested, you can go there, and we have professionally narrated the stories there. I've got 2 short stories, but then also shorter entries that are in-universe encyclopedia entries on the different creatures or the different symbols and things like that. And I spend a lot of time when I write those trying to weave the real world and this together. So I think if you're a fan of the mythos and you're looking for a real hardcore take,
Yeah.
and this take, please come by and check those out. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
I would have to check that out myself. So, how did that come about? Was that like, oh, we're going to turn this into an RPG, or was this like the backdrop to like we're creating these cool dice sets and let's make a story to go along with them?
No, it was the idea. Well, the initial project was to do Elder Dice, but then when we realized that we were, had the company because it was successful and things like that, we were like, what are we going to do? And David and I both have worlds that we wanted to develop. So the worlds predated this. And like I said, he was already in the Cthulhu world of the Cthulhu mythos and that kind of fandom before we got together. And so the world of Journey to the Tree of Sorrows was an idea that he had that predated Elder Dice. And so now Infinite Black is becoming the vehicle to create it.
Nice. So are you guys currently playing games there?
Currently, like at this moment, no, but we're about to start that again. We've done a lot of play testing. We've got the whole adventure book written by Bill Barnett that's going to be levels 1 through 5, and we have run through that twice as a play test, and then we're going to do that again, probably a couple more times with different groups. So at the moment, we're in between play tests through that, but we'll get back on it.
But I mean, you guys have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, that's definitely cool.
And it was fun because Bill, he's done an amazing job writing this adventure that has the right feel of the world and everything that we wanted out of it. But David and I intentionally didn't want to read it before we played it. So we set up the world and we set up, what the adventure was going to be in a broad sense and where it was going to be and all of that. Then we let Bill run with it. And then the first time we had ever encountered it, we encountered the world as players.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And it was especially since, when you click with somebody and they get what you're trying to do and the feel and everything like that. And Bill got that with the writing the adventure that he created. And so it was a really neat experience.
What was the character you played?
I played one of the Norse mariners, a fighter who was one of the crew members on a shipwrecked ship.
Oh, nice.
David was playing a professor from the university in Constantinople.
It sounds like a good duo. So did it end with you guys gouging your eyes out and killing yourselves?
It did not. Neither in character or in person.
Well, in person that was good. I just feel like a good Call of Cthulhu story ends with someone going insane and gouging their eyes out.
Well, it's possible.
I'll add that to this the description. Journey, because for one, so I will know where it is and remember to go back there and check it out. And for other folks, as always, in the description you can find links to the things we're talking about and also to find the guests. And that seems like a really cool thing. I like genre mashups and mashing up themes. So digging it.
We've
So
got the stories that or the sections that were just put out on that the Journey to the Tree of Sorrows website had to do with the symbols that are on the Elder Dice Shards of Illumination right now. So we just posted the history and lore of those two symbols. And we've got one more that's going to come out next week. So there's another one coming soon.
nice. So people can see what the symbol, these crazy symbols mean on the dice that they're getting.
Exactly.
And get the lore behind it as well. So is that setting more of a dark and gritty?
Yes. Yes. Dark, gritty.
So
What I would call low fantasy, but
yeah.
other people would have different words.
So do you know what you're going to do, or already have figured out how you're going to do it to make it darker and grittier, low fantasy? 5e is a little tough for those things.
It can be. So the world and the story is that way, and we talk about that a lot. And what's the right way to go with that? And the next big project is to rewrite the PHB for all of that. Of course, we brought in sanity rules for one thing. The color is a big part of that too. You know, the color has space, the color. So there's elements of the color as well. And we talk a lot about like the magic system and the different classes, because it is a balance. Dave and I actually talk a lot about storytelling in multiple genres, that we want to tell stories in multiple ways. Some ways is like a short story that I write. Well, this is storytelling through an RPG. And so you do get the RPG. This is like the 5e RPG version. So, you know, there's certain things that you bring in, but the other things that you accept if you're storytelling within this system. You know? So we talk about that with the magic. I've been going through a lot of the spells and things like that. So some of them will be there, some of them will not. But we're like, but if you're playing a 5e game, you're expecting to be able to cast spells, you know, so that's not something that we want to take away or, you know, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, and a big part of the Cthulhu stories is the investigating and figuring out, you know, more so than fighting the things. So that's why I find it really difficult when you're talking about just D&D in general, really. I mean, it's a game based on killing the monsters and taking their stuff. You know, so when you start going into these other genres or tropes, it's like, well, no, you're not really supposed to kill the monster and take their stuff. You just, you know, you just want to survive and not go insane.
Right. And now we do take one of our twists on it, and I say that you're the cultists. And that's not exactly true, because you don't have to play someone who is in one of the cults to one of the elder gods. But it is Lovecraftian to have the investigator, and that you don't actually see the thing. You know, the stories will be told, you know, this happened, and you're being told about it in retrospect. You're not actually following the character who saw the crazy thing. But we're intentionally trying to push the characters to be the people who are actively experiencing these things and actively involved in what's going on, rather than being the third hand investigator and that kind of thing.
Yeah, because in the traditional stories, that's how it goes until they are the one that experiences it, then it's too late.
And then it's too late, and you go, you know, that, oh, I hear something, it's coming through the door. Ah, and you know, that's what's, yeah.
Yeah, or the character goes off to live their life as a shut-in, and they won't, you know, they never leave. They have things delivered.
Right.
Do you have a favorite Lovecraft story?
I'm partial to the Dunwich Horror. That was one of the first ones I've read, so that one has stuck with me for a while. But I also like The Shadow over Innsmouth.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I read things that have like zero retention. So I read a bunch of them. Like one Christmas, I think I had you know, on my list was like all Lovecraft books, and I read through them. But to me, like they all blend together now. I couldn't tell you which one was which. It's a horrible tragedy of my brain. But yeah, so what kind of games are you playing now? Like you said, you guys have a Sunday D&D game going on. Is it just like standard D&D? Is it kind of based on the things that you guys are doing at Infinite Black?
Well, what I do on Sundays is outside of Infinite Black. I run, or I'm part of a game with Lou Anders. He's the author of the Thrones and Bones series of books, and so I play with him, and he runs it. but we play multiple campaigns. Lou has multiple games running at the same time. So we've got a Midgard campaign
Okay.
going, and that's Lou's favorite world, and that one is great. We also have Storm King's Thunder going in the Forgotten Realms. He has started another Midgard campaign, so there's 2 of those going actually. And then we started a Fate game in a cyberpunk kind of setting. So it's different people. I'm in on a bunch of his games, different groups of people. We all show up on Sundays and play one of those.
Oh, nice. That's kind of nice too. Like I like getting like the variety. That's kind of why we kind of went from, for years we would play like the same game every Saturday, to mixing it up with different GMs, different groups, and different games. It kind of keeps us from getting burnt out on any particular game, and it's made them last a lot longer.
Well, and Lou does a tremendous amount of prep, like even for online. But especially when we were playing, I don't know how he does it, but even when we were playing, especially when we were playing at the table, I mean, he's got one of the giant table sets up. We got the screen set up. So sometimes we use the animated maps on the screen when we're in person. Got a 55-inch TV and all of that goes along with that, and the sound effects. But then also he's got a couple of 3D printers, and he is 3D printing stuff all the time. So sometimes we use the TV screen. Other times the TV screen is not there, and it's a completely 3D printed table and set up. So.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That sounds like a great GM to play with.
He is.
That kind of makes me think of like when I see Dwarven Forge, like I'm like, I want to be a player in those games, but I never would want to be the GM in those games. When you see those like huge setups.
So, yeah, I had some of their stuff a while back ago, and I want to get back into it. But this thing, do you go Dwarven Forge, or Lou's going the 3D printed route?
Yeah.
But that's a lot of work too.
Oh yeah, they don't print fast.
They don't print fast, and especially then if you're going to paint them all and everything else, you're still in for an investment.
Yeah, there's that for sure. So, is that what do you prefer when you're running? I mean, do you run more games, or are you more or you're a player more?
Well, lately, because of Lou's games, I've been a player more. It seems like that's been the way that's happened. But I run games too. It seems like when I have other groups of people down, I typically run. But
do you have a preference?
Lou's running. No, not really. Like when I'm ready to run a game, I'm ready to run a game. Yeah. So, and I'm totally into it. But when somebody else is, doing all this amazing work to prep the game and run it, then I'm all about that too.
I definitely feel you there. Like I think for me, a lot of times it's like when I'm running, I want to be playing, and when I'm playing, I want to be running. Right. So so I enjoy both for sure. So when you run your games, are you kind of minis in terrain, theater of the mind?
I started out with the people that I was running for trying to do theater of the mind, but it seemed like they all preferred miniatures. Yeah. So I've shifted gradually to being much more miniature and grid focused and with the terrain.
I guess that group's more tactical?
More tactical, yeah. And I do move them from encounter to encounter to encounter, pretty fast, instead of all of the downtime, we move to another encounter, and that's great.
Yeah. So our games, we're like the opposite. We generally do like one big encounter a session, and then us as players or my players are usually thrown through a loop if there's like 3 encounters, especially if they all happen in the same day. Because we're just not used to that. So I guess we've gotten a little bit more narrative over the years, and less combat. But usually there's at least one, and it's usually like one big combat probably takes a little while, and then it's a lot of like social engagement and exploration type stuff. Are you guys you like running like dungeon delves, or?
When we're playing a game like that, then even if it's not a dungeon delve, but from dungeon type encounter to dungeon type encounter, you know,
Yeah.
the miniature focused ones. But that's not necessarily loose games at all. I mean,
Yeah.
loose games are have a lot more of the style you're talking about.
Yeah. And no judgment. Like, there's no wrong
Yeah.
way to play. Like,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
I mean, it used to be a lot of fun back in the day where you would just start at the entrance of the dungeon and go in. There was no story or preamble when we first got started.
Right. Right. And it just depends on, yeah, as long as everybody at the table is on the same page.
Yeah.
Like, you know, what is this type of game going to be, and everybody knows what they're expecting, there's no problem.
Yeah, and that's always the thing. There's no wrong way to play the game. There can be the wrong group to play the game with, though.
Right. Or the wrong mix of people. Then
Yeah.
what you do is you say, these people prefer this. So, and I enjoy that too. So I just have to play that group with this. And then when I'm playing with this group, we do it a different way.
Yeah.
And as long as you got the right people, then there you go.
Are there any you mentioned Fate? What non D&D games are you into?
I like GURPS.
I've never actually played GURPS, believe it or not.
I played a lot of that a long time ago, especially. And so I still have all of the books. And actually, at one time, I spent a lot of time working on Lord of the Rings adaptions of GURPS. So I really appreciate that system, especially back then. There are some hurdles to getting people to play GURPS today. Length of character creation is one of them, because now I prefer short character creation because time is limited, and you know, time spent making characters is time people are not playing. But I am still a big GURPS fan. I have got Hackmaster sitting over here.
Yeah.
I got to play Hackmaster at Gen Con with, you know, the creators and everything set up on the Dwarven Forge setup. And I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. So I would definitely play Hackmaster with some people. I want to run a test game for everybody using that system.
That's
let everybody experience it.
That system is very chart intensive, right?
It is chart intensive, but I appreciate the initiative system and combat system a lot. I want to run. I've got the Dungeon Fantasy box for GURPS here too, and I want to introduce people to, like, run a test game for people who just want to play GURPS using the Dungeon Fantasy rules.
Maybe pre-gens.
Exactly. It's got a box of pre-gen. Here are your adventurers. Let's learn the system. You know, we're going to go down, kind of do a dungeon delve kind of thing, and experiment.
I've heard too many horror stories of people coming into games, especially like 3.5. Third edition era, and like they're like they get handed a stack of books and be like, here, make your character, and like for 2 hours they're making a character while everyone else is like playing the game.
Yeah, I don't like that. Today I appreciate quick character creation or pre-gens. I mean, I appreciate that too. If you're coming in for one shots or whatever, just for an afternoon, I'm fine personally with being handed a pre-gen character or a pick from one of these. I'm fine with that.
I kind of prefer that for like a new game, so that I could just jump in, get started, and I'd rather just learn the game as we play it anyway, as opposed to like, here's a 400-page rule book, read this and come back and we'll play this.
Yeah, your first job is to figure out how to create a character using the system. That can come later.
Yeah.
Here's the character that fits well with the game that's about to be played. And then figure out whether you like the system or not and enjoy.
Rarely are RPG books fun to read. Like, they're fun to pick through, but not to like straight up, oh, I'm just gonna read this book cover to cover and figure this game out. They don't read well that way. The only exception that I found, I mean, it's not I'm sure it's not the only one. But I want to say one of the best rule books to read was the Dresden Files Fate book. It just read really well, and the way they did it, it was very like. They also had like characters explaining the game in the narration, so it made it a lot more interesting.
Oh, I know that book, but I have not read it. I haven't checked it out.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. Like, I think like Billy the Werewolf does a lot of like the narration in it. If you're familiar with the Dresden Files series.
I am actually not.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a great
surprise.
series. It's definitely a great one to get into if you're looking for something to read.
Yeah,
And,
I know a lot of people who are.
If you need like 20 books or so to keep you busy for a bit.
Fate is another one, though. You're talking about non D&D RPGs. I've played
Yeah.
that with Brian. He runs Revelo a lot in Fate, and so I've done Fate Revelo with him. Of course, we're doing this cyberpunk thing with Lou that's Fate, and we did experiment with that for Journey to the Tree of Sorrows. So there was some play testing early on that was possibly in Fate, but we decided to not go that route for Journey.
Yeah, so I mean, unfortunately, like in the RPG industry, if you want to, if you want to, make it commercially viable, slapping 5e on it is going to be way more, lucrative, and you're going to get more people to play the game than going with another system. Unfortunately, there's a lot of great systems out there, though.
There are, and I really appreciate what Fate is trying to do. I really like it, and Lou likes that as well. He talks about that because he's an author, so he's into storytelling. That it's like Fate is not trying to simulate reality; it's trying to simulate the telling of a story. That how is a story told and its structure? So, for the right group of people, that's perfect. For others, it won't be.
The older I get, the more I appreciate and enjoy rules light systems. Anyway, Cipher system is another one. It's kind of like that as well. Actually, even the structure of how you build a character is kind of similar. You have those couple sentences that define your character. I think it's a little bit more codified in Cipher, but it's very similar to Fate that way. I haven't played like a ton of Fate. I've played Fate Core once or twice, and I got a couple of Fate Accelerated games under my belt as well. But the fun thing about that system is, again, it's like you can play any genre in it as long as you're not looking for like a crunchy, very simulationist type of game.
Right. I wanted to do like some type of, or I thought it would be a good idea for like a YouTube series when you're showing how to do character creation or something quickly in different systems. And I was like, in Fate, you got 10 minutes and I can create Aragorn.
Yeah.
If you want to play Aragorn, I can create Aragorn in Fate in, no time. And you can be playing.
Have you considered doing that? Doing like, fictionalized characters in Fate?
I've thought about it because I thought about with all the different systems that I've got over here, and good intros to a system to just get people to look at different things too, or people who are interested in looking at different things and seeing what they might. I don't know when I will be able to do that, but it was one of the YouTube ideas on the list.
Yeah, we did D&Di'd a bunch of characters in the past. Which we haven't done that in a while, but people do seem to like those and like to discuss in the comments of like how they would do it or what we got wrong. It's YouTube. There's a lot of what we got wrong. So.
Well, you're right. Yes, if something has gotten wrong, then yes, you know about it.
Yeah. A couple hundred people probably tell you they're good for that. Yeah. So, you mentioned you playing games on Sundays. So no like in-house team games.
The Infinite Black.
Yeah.
Not see. We were going to start all that because we built an office. We got a new office building for us all to work in, and we've got a gaming table over there. And that was one of the reasons to have everybody together. And they're like, we're going to be able to play, especially during lunch, things like that. And of course, we got more play testing that's got to come up with, and we'll be able to do that all together, regularly, at least once a week, all the playing games and things like that. And then the apocalypse hit and we scattered. So we haven't gotten back. We haven't actually been working out of the office yet. So David, my business partner, is over there, but we're not.
So you guys picked up an office just before this all happened?
Yeah, we built one, and it was finished. It was finished basically right after Gamma, and it was basically right after Gamma when all this hit. So we were planning on moving in and working out of an Infinite Black office like a couple weeks after Gamma, but then we're like, okay, everybody, stay home.
Yeah, oh, that stinks.
Yeah.
How big of a team do you guys have over there at Infinite Black?
We have got, of course, David and I are the co-founders and the co-owners. So we're working on time. Lat, who is here with me at my house at the moment, actually, he comes down here and works. So Lat is full-time Infinite Black. And then Rhea and Brian also work with us in part-time capacities. So, and then, we contract out with different artists and things like that too from time to time. But it's a core team of 3 full-time and then plus 2 part-time.
Okay. You need a big enough staff in order to have a D&D party.
Right. We'd have to bring in some other people for the playtesting, but we do that all the time. So
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that stinks. 2021. It's going to be everyone's year.
yeah, if hopefully we'll be able to get back to conventions and everything like that next year, and I think they're going to be just blowouts if we do, because if everybody's been sitting at home, especially everybody's working at home, if we can get back to conventions next year, man, it's going to be a wild party.
How many conventions do you guys usually hit?
We usually hit Origins and Gen Con. We'd been doing Origins and Gen Con. Then we would go to Gamma. Of course, that's the business to business one predominantly. But we would do Origins and Gen Con every year. And then we were looking at picking up some more. But because we're a small team, it's hard to get to more. So really, given the size of our team, doing Origins and Gen Con is about what we could do.
Yeah, and conventions are exhausting when you go there to work. And
They are.
So we go there to work, but we're not. It's not like we're sitting at a booth that whole time. So I can only imagine it's so much worse when you're at the booth. Like, you're there for however many hours the booth is, and then if you're doing networking or anything like that, or even gaming, it's going to be after hours. They're long days.
They are long days because all the meetings and things like that you're talking about, because not only, at Origins and Gamma, everybody's there. So if you need to have a business meeting or you need to show off samples, all that kind of stuff, that also happens, there as well. But also when you're even if you're not a small team, the prep for going to Gen Con, to setting all of that up, that's at least a week and a half, if not 2 weeks. And it's only, it used to be just David and me basically doing that. So everything else couldn't get done. As you're preparing to go up there and drive up to Gen Con and getting all the inventory and stock. And then when you're done, you got to drive back and you've got to inventory all of that and take care of the booth and stuff like that. So going to a convention is more than just the convention time when you're running it. There's a whole lot of
prep. Like a week lead up and a week after where you're kind of breaking down. And then, then it's just like you said, it's just long days. It's exhausting and grueling. At least when I go, where me and Ted go as Nerdarchy, we're not tied to any one place. So it's like, if we want to sneak off and take a nap during the middle of the day, we can. Mm-hmm. I think that's frowned upon when you're running a booth.
Right. Yeah, like sleeping under the table or something like that.
What is that cop for? You're going to see soon. So when you guys are boothing, do you guys run any games or do anything like that, or is it just
we have not run games at the booth yet because we had smaller booths, and so we weren't able to do that. But one of the things that we want to be able to do is set up demo space, especially once we have stuff for Journey, probably next year. We want to get more space and more for demos and running games and things like that, and set up nice tables and let people enjoy it.
You guys are going to have to hit PAX Unplugged.
We want to. That one's on the short list of things that we would add if we could. So that one is one of them that we would love to do, because we hear great things about it. I mean, other friends and everything go up there, and it seems like it's a great time.
Yeah, so that's our home show now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, essentially. Well, because Ted is 15 minutes outside of Philadelphia,
well, that makes it easy.
And I'm not much further away, so we feel morally obligated to hit that show no matter what.
Right. Well, yes. I wish we had one that was that close by.
Yeah. Except for I don't think they've canceled yet this year, but I'm sure they're going to. I think the city of Philadelphia canceled everything until like February. So.
Oh, yeah.
But even if they don't cancel, we won't be making this one. No cons until 2021. unfortunately. But like you said, well, when they finally do come back, I think they are going to come back strong. People have been
Yeah.
missing them and chomping at the bit to go see all their friends.
I think people can work remotely. I think people, or I mean, some people, are happy with doing that. But going to a convention is still going to a convention. So if you're staying at home for work, I think everybody will want to go have a party.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were supposed to actually have our first convention this year, uh, Halloween weekend, which has been pushed to the following year.
Oh, and that happened to you as well. So it hit
Yeah,
you.
yeah. And especially with it being the first one. At first, we were like, I don't know, maybe October will be okay. But as things went on, I'm like, probably not.
We another thing that I was doing was I've put out a first live show called The Cultists, which is kind of a self parody of the Journey to the Tree of Sorrow stuff. It's a Cthulhu Mythos comedy that's on YouTube. But we were going to do a live showing of that too, because I thought it would be great to have everybody together, and I want to do that this summer. But that was off the table too. I'm going to check again to just show it at a bar or something like that here in the city around Halloween, if that can even happen. But yeah, it's impacted everything. I mean, it's like, all right, everybody just push to 2021.
I think Mark Meir does a one-man Cthulhu Lovecraftian style show.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that.
I've seen him advertise it or promote it on Twitter and Facebook. I haven't seen it because it's in LA, so but yeah, which is on the other side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be kind of cool. What kind of shows are you doing?
Well, I have done 2 shows over on my YouTube channel, Heath Robinson, if you go over there. Well, I've got several different videos where I put together the board games and enhanced the board games. We did Zombicide. We did a 3D version of well, now I'm drawing a blank. We did Terraforming Mars was one that we did. Journeys in the Dark, that was the one that I was trying to think of. Journeys in the Dark. War of Kings, which was the first board game that I had done. So we've got a series where we build 3D versions of the boards. Megan, my cousin, and I do that. And then she hosts with me dinner and a board game. I'm here in my house, and I completely themed my house to be like a medieval tavern. And then my gaming room has a castle wall set up in here, and we built a gaming table. And so she and I host a show called Dinner and a Board Game, where she and I have people over to the house to play board games. And so we cook dinner over here in the kitchen. And so there's a cooking part in the introduction where we all cook dinner and make drinks. And then we go and we play a board game in the gaming hall in here. So we did 10 episodes of that show. Nice. Then we did our first scripted show, which is The Cultists, which is the comedy about Lovecraftian cultists living here in modern day Alabama who are just trying to summon Cthulhu and worship the elder gods, but nobody understands. And that's been extremely popular. We actually, tonight is episode 3. We've released 2 episodes, and then at 7:30 p.m. tonight, episode 3 goes live on YouTube. So we hope that we're going to be able to do second seasons of both Dinner and a Board Game and The Cultists.
Oh, nice. There are links in the description, so folks, you can check that out and watch those shows.
Those were both a lot of effort. I mean, the kind of effort that goes into video production and everything else. But even when the Cultists, we did a 2-week shoot. Of course, there was all the pre-production and post-production too. But there was 2 weeks of shooting that got everybody together to produce The Cultists. It was a lot of fun.
Do you have a background in film or TV or anything like that?
I do not. It's just something that I wanted to get into and have been trying to do for a long time. And so I just decided, you know what, let's just do it. Let's start.
Yeah. Nice. That's cool. It's quite an undertaking and endeavor.
It was. I don't know if we were supposed to have been able to do The Cultist. It's a big production for what we are. We're a small group, and but even doing something like the Cultist was a major endeavor. But nobody told us that you can't do it. It was just a big project. We're like, this is what we should do. Let's write these scripts and let's do it. And we made it happen.
Hey, sometimes you just make your own rules. Do what
Exactly. You're like, right. But when you look at it in retrospect, you're like, man, that was a big project.
Yeah, you said it took like 2 weeks to film an episode.
No, we filmed all 10 episodes. Each episode's between 5 and 7 minutes.
Okay.
And so, but it took 2 weeks of production. Like when the cameras were actually rolling, we shot for 2 straight weeks to get all of that material in the camera.
And what do you guys shoot on?
I wish I could tell you, but I can't because I'm not the cinematographer. Okay. Another guy, Brennan, is our director of photography and the main camera operator for that show. And so he was the camera and the technical specialist in all that regards. And so I can't call the name of the camera that he's got.
No, it's okay. Now, I was just curious if you guys kind of like guerrilla'd it or, if it's all like highly produced.
We didn't guerrilla it. That was actually my first idea because I was like, I want to be able to produce a show. I want to know what it takes. I want to get everybody down here. Like, I don't care if we shoot it on our phones. Like, we're going to write the scripts and then we're going to get that done. But then as the project just grew and grew and grew, it got, more people became involved. We got, actors who know what they're doing. So, all of that. Then we got the cinematographer who knows what he's doing. And so it just kind of grew in.
Now, is that like a bunch of people that you hired or people you knew?
Well, they were hired. I did know a lot of them. I knew the first kind of core group, but I met a lot of the actors. The original idea was to basically go with people that we know. Let's just call the people we know, give them the roles, and then we're going to guerrilla this and get it done. But, everybody's schedule doesn't work, and then we need more people. And so we said, eventually we're going to have auditions for this. So we went to the Hoover Library up in Birmingham, and we put out a call for auditions. And we had a lot of people. I was impressed. Like, we didn't even advertise it that, long in advance. I was like, are we going to have anybody show up for this? Or are we just going to be sitting here? And we packed out a whole day of auditions and met people in the city who do this kind of thing. And we're like, this is great. Like, real actors showed up for this to audition. And so then that's how we met a whole bunch of people. And they became, I didn't know the actors until then.
So, do you also act in in the Cultist?
I have a cameo tonight in episode 3.
Okay,
but that's it.
What is your role?
Well, I am a guy in the park who is watching the cultists. Will have their meeting.
I mean, like writer, producer.
Oh, you're right. I am the creator and I am the co-writer of it. And I also produced it. Right. So I created and then I wrote out, and then my friend Brianna De Silva came in as a writer, and then she and I worked on the scripts together. And then, so we're both co-writers, but then I was the producer and then she directed it. So we can split the work that way.
Cool. So kind of like comedy horror or just comedy?
It's mainly comedy. They're not. It's much more absurd than it is horrific.
No one gets murdered.
No one gets murdered yet.
Yeah. Sweet. And how long have you been doing? How long has that project been going on?
That project, I think Brianna and I started writing the scripts. I had been keeping notebooks of all the jokes and things like that as they came up, but Brianna and I started writing at the end of last summer to really get the scripts done. And we were trying to shoot it. We were trying to shoot the first season of Dinner and a Board Game, because she came down. Brianna's on Dinner and a Board Game as well. She's one of the guests. So everybody came down to my house. We tried to shoot one season of Dinner and a Board Game and then go right into the production of the Cultists. But it was too fast. It was too much going on. We couldn't organize the production of the Cultists fast enough. That was right before Thanksgiving of last year. And so we ended up having to wait until January. We shot the Cultists in January and then did post-production after that. So I was thinking about that as far as the script writing actually going, it's probably been about a year when we first decided, okay, let's write these things. So it takes a while for it all to happen.
Nice. Yeah, your YouTube channel's got some cool stuff on there. It's kind of a collection of different things.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to have some things about building this house and putting up the. I've got the video about how I did this wall. If you can, this is my.
That's nice.
It's my office wall. About how I made that on the channel, but I've got some other videos that I've still got to finish editing about building the rest of the gaming house.
So you're kind of handy.
I try to be.
Well, it seems like I'm not very handy at all. And oddly enough, I worked in construction for a very long time. It made me way more mechanical than I ever really wanted to be honest with you, because I worked for a cheap boss that didn't get things fixed or upkeep things, so constantly on the job having to figure out how to make things go. But it's definitely not my forte. I know some people just like enjoy that stuff and enjoy working with their hands. I'm just happy when it's done.
Well, there's a strong part of that too. This house, it was an old kind of country farmhouse, like a block house, cinder block house. And I basically gutted the entire thing to turn it into the set for dinner and a board game and the gaming halls and all of that. The shower is still the same, but otherwise every inch of this house I tore out and then put back in to make it what I wanted it to be. But I was living here during all of that, in the dust and the destruction and all of that. And so when it's done, now that it's basically done now, there's still some furniture to get, but it's basically done on the interior now. It's like, this is so nice. It's not like the roof torn out anywhere.
You can't see the sky from inside. Nice. So if you ever do find yourself in a post-apocalyptic setting, you should be able to survive okay. Sounds like.
I'll give it a go.
Well, you've already lived in the partially done house. So.
Yeah, I've lived in the rubble of a house. Yeah, where I was even tearing out, like the interior walls were even cinder block. So I was living in it when they're trying to tear out cinder block walls, or I was.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
that is some serious construction there.
It was, because like there was a cinder block wall between the kitchen and the living room, and I was like, I'd like to have a big open space with a bar and all of that. And it's like, but this is a cinder block wall. I'm going to have to cut this thing out and beat this thing out with a sledgehammer. But it's like, it needs to happen now or it's never going to happen, because I'm only tearing this house up once. And so I got it out.
It was definitely built by a mason, and they're like, we will not wood.
We are not going to wood. There will be no termites in this house anywhere, right?
Ever. Yeah. Wow, that's hardcore. You definitely see you've seen some block houses, but I don't know that the interior was also made of block.
Right. Yeah. I wasn't expecting that either.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Yeah. It was kind of a surprise. I was like, surely this is like a plaster.
Over top. Yeah.
Over something, but no, it wasn't.
That's a serious R rating.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't miss the construction days. I've been doing this full time for the past, I guess, maybe 3 years, and I definitely don't miss because I used to do heavy construction overnight, and also why I'm not that handy, because all the tools we used are big, and I operated a truck mostly, so Joe says his house is it was dwarven made.
It was, yes.
So, do you have favorite character class, favorite races for D&D?
For D&D, well, it seems like everybody's got a couple that they always kind of gravitate and go back to. I'm known for clerics. I played a lot of clerics. I'm playing a necromancer right now, but I've played. I guess I was best known for clerics, and then also fighters. I had a fighter who was one of the Cavaliers, had this Cavalier kit. And that was the second edition. That was an advanced D&D game. I played an Iosimar cleric, and an Iosimar fighter who was a Cavalier for a while. But I guess actually that's the Iasamar is also one of the clerics that I'm running now. So I guess I play those quite a bit. One of the clerics of war.
Reoccurring theme. But
Hmm.
you know, what is a necromancer but a cleric that's a little bit late? So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I had some ideas about what the necromancer was going to be from second edition, and then I came up to fifth edition, and it's a
yeah,
bit different from what I was, what I had remembered. Now they
yeah,
changed it up.
yeah. I have an affinity for dwarves. I'm always like go to make a character and be like, and this would be a good dwarf, and I'm like, oh, I have to. So I'm always trying to like force myself to make different things and not keep playing the same things over and over again.
Mhm. I'm playing a dwarf for the first time in one of Lou's games. I decided to go the classic dwarven fighter, but I'd never played one before.
Nice. Do you talk in character and do like voices and stuff?
I don't do voices. I wish I did, but I've got to figure that out.
Well, I mean, it's for some, it's not for everyone. I sometimes do voices, and I find it hard to stay in voice a lot of times
Yeah.
as well. And then a lot of the voices start sounding alike. Some people are really good at it, and some people aren't. I definitely am terrible at accents, and I feel like any accent I do is just going to be offensive. So stay away from accents.
Yeah, and there are places you can go to learn that, and
Yeah.
and audio things about how to learn an accent. And I've thought that would be a fun thing to do. Is Megan, my cousin, she's in theater, and so she's done all that, and she can do all the different accents because they just learned that
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm like, man, that would be fun to learn, but I haven't picked it up yet.
It's always like weird to like see a like an English actor, do an interview, and you know them from a role where they're playing someone with an American accent, and it's like, wait a minute, that voice
Right.
is not right.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Where is he from? Oh, whoa. Yeah.
that makes sense then. Joe wants to know how much dragging art do you use?
Dragon art?
Yeah,
Like for home decoration?
just a
Or
general,
for
I
what?
guess. I don't know that there's a lot of Cthulhu dragons, but maybe there needs to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, I've got a number of different dragon pieces up around the house, including some from Larry Elmore. One of them that I'm looking at right up there
Oh, nice.
is up here in the office. Um,
Can't go wrong with Elmore.
right, I got several different pieces of his to hang up, and this around the house. I've got more pictures and more art than wall. I filled up the house.
So is your whole house kind of themed?
Yep, the whole house is themed. Right. This is the office. I themed the entire thing like a tavern. I've got. I'll link you when I put it up. But the living room looks like a tavern. So I've got the stone at the bottom, and then I've got the plaster walls up around. I've got the wood ceiling, the fireplace in there. I've got the stonework that looks like the castle wall in the gaming room with wood paneling. All up around. I'm going to put up another castle wall in the gaming room. You can see that on Dinner and a Board Game, but it needs a second castle wall. But yes, the entire house is themed for medieval tavern kind of thing.
Oh, nice. How long did that take?
A long time. Well, like I lived in chaos because I was tearing everything out because I tore everything out. It looked like I had everything in here that a country grandmother would need.
Yeah.
Like I could have outfitted a country grandma because when I bought the house, it even like had all of her clothes in it. Like everything, yeah. I bought the house and I bought everything that she had because and I was like, okay, first of all, I have to de-grandmaify this place. Yeah. And so ripping everything out took a long time. It was probably a year project, but there were starts and stops and tearing stuff out. And then now I got
a special service you can call for that, for de-grandmaifying?
It was my sledgehammer and my crowbar.
No more grandmas. Interesting battle cry. So we are up on the hour mark. Any final thoughts before we head on out?
Well, I really appreciate your having me. It was a really delightful and fun conversation. And if people are interested, then please come by the Kickstarter, the Shards of Illumination Kickstarter, but also come by my YouTube channel. That's Heath Robinson, just HeathRobinson, and you'll find the gaming stuff. You'll find the cultist. You'll find Dinner, a board game. And I would love to talk to you.
De-grandmifying your house a little bit.
Yeah, yep. There'll be more videos on the de-grandmaification of the house and turning it into the medieval tavern.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. All the links are in the description. Once this thing is not live anymore, they will probably, or they will be in the pinned post. So with that, until next time, stay nerdy.
Thank you.